Hi, everyone. My special guest today is Charles Osaki. I first met Charlie many, many years ago when I finished up with graduate school at USC. I think that was around 2000. At that time, he was the director of recruiting and university relations for the Big Four CPA firm, Deloitte. In that role, he was in charge of all recruiting programs for audit, tax, and middle market consulting functions in the Pacific Southwest region for Deloitte. Since then, he served in the role of principal at the accounting firms Armanino and Squar Milner. Today, he is now semi-retired and works part-time as an adjunct professor at Cerritos College. So Charlie is truly a person who has a wealth of knowledge. So I asked him today to come do this video with me so as to provide valuable advice to my students. So Charlie, thank you so much for coming to do this video with me today.
You're welcome, Ming. It's been a long time, but it's I've had a chance to venture into your profession of teaching, and it's been a terrific experience. Certainly exceeded my expectations.
Well, great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So let's get started. So my first question is that, when I introduced you, I mentioned all the high-level roles you worked at in HR/recruiting. Now, before you even got into HR, you worked as a senior manager at Deloitte for over 11 years. What made you want to transition your career from working in accounting to shifting to human resources/recruiting? Also, was it difficult to pivot from accounting to HR?
Well, those are two very good questions with a lot of different parts to answer. When I joined Deloitte's audit practice, the audit department, right out of school, and I was right after I graduated from UC Santa Barbara, I started out as a new associate, a staff accountant in the audit practice, and worked my way up through senior manager and then senior manager. And, I'd always heard that the differentiating thing between any business, particularly any professional services firm, was its people. But I've heard that question asked 1,000 times, and the answer is the same. It's the people. But if you think about it, Ming, no one really articulates it. I've never seen it articulated except one time in over 30 years about what makes your people different and why is it so important, okay? Especially if everybody's trying to recruit from the same pool at these outstanding schools throughout our state and frankly, the whole country. I gained that perspective through the different levels that I worked all the way through a couple of years before being a partner candidate. And it really is the people. The type of person that you're working with, your colleagues and the people that your supervisors, they all have different communication styles. They all manage differently. They interact differently with you. Different people have different types of etiquette that they practice and use. Essentially, people dictate your culture. They dictate the dynamics, and it really comes through on the more difficult and complex jobs, especially when you're working on what they call transaction. And a transaction is a specific event. It might be going public or an acquisition or a merger. And these things are time sensitive. They're always complex. And that brings out different types of personality types, along with the aptitude and the talent for problem solving. So you can see that the individual team dynamics are different based on the people you hire. And so I noticed that it made a big difference on who you hired, on who your teammates would be. The other issue was we talked about recruiting. It's tangible. We never really discussed the business imperative, not just importance, but the imperative of retention and development, which includes mentoring, training, leadership. And when I put that all together, it became clear to me how important people were. and that the recruiting, retention, development, and leadership succession was really important to a business. And that's how I got interested in human resources.